we talk, and if it's been recorded, then it's been recorded. I shot every one of them people in their head. They not making it back. My cousin, he was supposed to die. That dude that the film, oh yeah, he died. A lot of people were shot in the head, sir, and went back up right in front of my face. So therefore, how the can you wake back up in front of my face after I shoot you? How are you gonna wake back up? Please tell me, sir.
He wasn't a criminal, and what happened to him was just plain wrong. My son held a job. He was taking vacation time. He was supposed to be back at work today, and this is his fate. I told him to keep his distance from that place, but his whole family acted up without any sense. All these young black men just going around taking each other out for no reason at all. Tonight, an extensive investigation is underway following a lethal shooting in a neighborhood in Riviera Beach. Police report the gunman started shooting, then made attempts to carjack several individuals. It all unfolded just outside of the Azure Estates subdivision, off of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It was a typical Monday evening, with people arriving home from work and kids being called in for their dinner. People sat on their front steps, enjoying the last bit of Florida's warmth. It was normal, calm, ordinary. Then gunfire shattered the peace. Not a single shot, not two, but 18 rounds ripped through the Azure Estates apartment community in Riviera Beach, Florida. And that was only the beginning. By the time it was finished, one man lay dead. 4 more were bleeding out on the pavement. A local pastor had been hit. Motorists on a public street were ambushed right in their own vehicles. Then a stolen black Chevrolet Silverado was seen speeding north along Interstate 95. The shooter was behind the wheel, entirely convinced that his actions were justified. The person responsible for all the chaos was just 20 years old, and the first life he took was that of someone who loved him. Traante Gibson was a 20-year-old living in West Palm Beach. Very little about his upbringing has been publicly recorded, yet the events of that night showed a young man who was, by all accounts, unwell. Not in a manner that excuses what occurred, but in one that makes you question, how could no one have seen this coming? How does any person arrive at such a dark place? His cousin, John Richard Hallebertton III, was 25. To really grasp the true devastation of that night, you must understand who John was, because his mother made certain the world would not forget him. Curtisa Brown raised her son the right way in a single-parent home. She had relocated the whole family all the way to Maine to escape the exact kind of violence that plagues so many young men in South Florida. She wanted something better for him, and for a time, it actually worked. John obtained his welding license. He secured steady employment. He was creating a life for himself. And then, merely a month before that Monday night, he became the father to a baby girl, just 1 month old. He had moved back to South Florida a few years before. He might have thought conditions had improved. Perhaps he was just homesick. No matter his reasons, John was home again, employed, licensed, a new dad, and by any definition, he was on the right path. That Monday night, he got a call from his younger cousin. Gibson claimed a group of men was giving him trouble outside the Azure Estates complex. He said he needed backup. So John did what family does. He went there. He brought a backpack with him. Inside, it was a handgun equipped with an extended magazine, holding 30 to 40 bullets. He had no clue what he was heading into. At about 5:45 that evening, the mood outside Azure Estates was already tense. A crowd of men had formed outside. Gibson felt trapped and threatened. It's unclear if the danger was real or something he had imagined. What is known for certain is what happened right after. Gibson reached into that backpack. He pulled the weapon and aimed it at the group. A man identified as Dillian Wright was shot in the head, point-blank range, the kind of shot that offers no chance of survival. People fled in terror. Screams echoed through the complex. And then John Hallebertton, the cousin who'd come to help, tried to intervene and stop it all. He moved toward Gibson, trying to stop anyone else from getting injured. Gibson then turned the gun on him. He shot his own cousin repeatedly. John collapsed and perished right there, just feet from the man he had arrived to help. Gibson, however, did not stop. He continued to fire as people ran for their lives. 18 rounds in total, which were later tracked by shot spotter technology, a system made to detect gunfire in real time. 18 shots inside a single complex. And then he fled. He raced onto the boulevard at a dead sprint, right into moving traffic. What came next was the stuff of nightmares. Gibson started accosting people in their vehicles. People were just driving home when, out of nowhere, a gunman appeared at their window, ordering them out of their cars. In a rapid series of carjacking attempts, he shot 3 different drivers. One survivor, from inside his truck, recalled Gibson approaching and shooting. A round hit him in the hand. The passenger next to him was also wounded. Pastor James Easley of Life Center Church took several bullets, as did Anthony Evans and Charles Daniels. 2 of those shot were transported to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Others needed medical attention for their wounds but pulled through. At gunpoint, a man was forced from his black Chevrolet Silverado. Unharmed, he could only watch from the roadside as an unknown man drove his truck north onto the highway, vanished. If the gravity of this situation is settling in, don't go anywhere. Join True Crime Tragedies. We tell the stories of real people, ensuring their memories are honored. Press subscribe now as we continue. The call came in to the Florida Highway Patrol. The alert was for a stolen black Silverado, seen entering the northbound interstate. Its driver was armed, a clear threat, and reportedly becoming unhinged. The pursuit continued for miles, crossing over into another county. He covered so much ground it was clear he wasn't hiding. He was fleeing a terror visible only to him. Gibson was finally found near the Indrio Road exit in St. Lucie County, pulled over in the SUV with him still in it. He surrendered without a fight and was arrested that evening. Our top story tonight, breaking developments from Riviera Beach, where dozens of officers have responded to a mass shooting. Reports confirm numerous injuries, and authorities say a person of interest has been detained. The incident unfolded within and around the Azure Estates community. Ari Height is on location and has been for hours. He has the latest on the investigation. Ari, I just spoke with Riviera Beach's police chief. He confirmed a total of 5 people were shot. 1 is deceased, 2 are critical, and 2 have injuries described as not life-threatening. To reiterate, 1 person has been taken into custody. At this stage, he's being called a person of interest rather than an official suspect, but they are confident he is the gunman. I want to show you some footage of how this scene appeared throughout the night. Let me detail what the chief shared with me. The incident began around 6:15 this evening. According to the chief, it began inside Azure Estates, where a fight broke out among a few people in the courtyard. The cause of the argument is unknown, but one individual produced a firearm and opened fire. Several people inside were hit, but the chief explains the violence didn't stop there. After shooting those people, he fled the scene and attempted several carjackings, firing at more individuals in the process. And now, back here live, this car you're seeing is one the chief confirmed the gunman attempted to steal. The gunman initially escaped but was later apprehended in St. Lucie County. To repeat, he is a person of interest, not a suspect, and they plan to interrogate him shortly. Regarding this location, they have been on site since about 6:15, and the chief anticipates they will remain for several more hours. He notes that investigating multiple crime scenes means it will be a long time before this area is cleared. Many people are gathered around me, all unable to return to their homes. However, the chief indicated residents won't be able to go home until early morning. But what emerged during the interrogation would change the entire understanding of what happened that night. Gibson spoke freely, claiming he heard spirits. He said these voices gave him a single command: eradicate the demons. The individuals outside the complex, the motorists on the road, even his own cousin inside the warped reality that gripped him that night. None of them were human. They were evil entities. He was utterly convinced it was his sole duty to destroy them all. This wasn't related to gang activity. No record of conflict existed between Gibson and the victims, nor was there evidence of a plan or any feud. All evidence suggested a young man experiencing an acute psychotic episode. He was seeing things, holding paranoid delusions, and living in a reality completely detached from everyone else's. But this is the one part that never gets any easier, no matter how you look at it. He called John. He phoned his own cousin, asked for the bag, and then aimed the weapon at the person who delivered it. Whatever was going on in Gibson's mind, John Hallebertton III is still gone. A 1-month-old baby girl is now fatherless. And for Curtis Brown, a mother who moved her family away to protect her son from this exact type of violence, now stands amid the ruins of what she tried so hard to stop. She spoke to the public after it occurred. And her words weren't angry. They carried a weight much heavier than that. He was not a criminal, and what was done to him was completely wrong. My son was employed. He was on leave. He was scheduled to return to his job today. And this is the result. I told him to keep away from that area. But all his relatives are there. It's just so pointless. All these young black men just going around killing one another for no reason. She stressed her son was no thug, but an intelligent young man from a 2-parent home with his whole future ahead of him. And then she raised the one question for which no answer could ever be enough. She said she needed to know what he was thinking, that she deserved to understand how and why her son was taken. She certainly does deserve that. She will likely spend her life never getting that answer. If you're moved by John's story, pass this on. Share it with a friend. That simple act helps keep these accounts from being forgotten, and please subscribe to True Crime Tragedies if you haven't. The inquiry moved swiftly, since there was very little to piece together from nothing. Gibson was apprehended that same evening. The firearm was also retrieved. ShotSpotter data provided detectives with a precise, time-stamped account of the gunfire inside Azure Estates. Security camera footage, witness testimony, and the sheer number of victims in several places created an indisputable trail. The issue for investigators wasn't who was responsible, but what the motive was, and specifically, what Gibson's mental condition would mean for the case as it proceeded through the courts. The visions he described were not fleeting or vague. They were detailed and persistent. He mentioned seeing spirits and hearing voices giving him orders. He claimed he would see them during the night. He said he could see them right there in the interrogation room on the faces of the people questioning him. That type of structured, ongoing delusion, logical in its own way, even while being totally removed from reality, is not a detail detectives could just dismiss. Forensic analysis supported what witnesses said, from the extended clip to the bullet trajectories, and the kind of wounds found on the different victims, all lining up with close-quarters fire from a lone weapon. One man, one gun, in a chain of events that destroyed lives in only minutes. He got in touch with his cousin John Hallebertton and requested he bring a backpack which contained a gun. After getting the weapon, Gibson declared that he needed to exterminate the demons. He then began shooting his cousin Hallebertton and the other people at that location. Gibson displayed no regret and said he felt no sorrow for shooting his cousin and the others. In all, Gibson shot 2 people at the Azure Estate before he fled. He then made his way to Martin Luther King Boulevard, where he tried to carjack someone. While attempting this, he shot 3 more victims and finally stole a car by force before leaving the scene. Gibson was later captured on Interstate 95 by FHP in St. Lucie County. He was brought back to Riviera Beach, where he was questioned and eventually confessed to the crimes he committed. Gibson is being charged with 1 count of first-degree murder, 4 counts of attempted first-degree murder, and a single count of carjacking with a weapon. This is still an active and ongoing case. The department is still working, and we understand that the community is beginning to heal. We are grateful for everyone's continued cooperation. At this point, I will field any questions you have. The victim who is deceased, was he shot in the complex or was he one of the carjacking victims? He was shot within the community. That was the suspect's cousin. Do you have an update on the condition of the other victims now? We knew a couple were in critical condition. Do you know their status currently? 2 of them are still listed as critical. 2 have non-life-threatening injuries. So, we are, still keeping those individuals in critical condition in our prayers. They are still alive, and we are hoping for their recovery. Do you know what might have led to this? What was the conflict inside that clubhouse? The investigation suggests he believed he was being harassed, and from what we gather, he wanted to stand up for himself. That prompted him to ask his cousin for a weapon. He then claimed spirits told him to kill demons, and that's when he shot the people in front of him. So let me be clear on this. He had his cousin deliver the firearm, and upon receiving it, he immediately shot his cousin? And was that firearm reported as stolen? Was it registered to him or his cousin? We have run a check on the weapon at this time. It has not been listed as stolen. So for now, it was not a stolen gun. Can you spell his first name for us? Terrell, you identified him as Traante Gibson, correct? It's Terrell. And the last name is Gibson, Gibson. Is he a resident of the Riviera Beach area? No. His home is in West Palm Beach. His age? He is 20 years old. And what about the victims' ages? Are they men and women? All of them are men. The victims' birth years span from 1960 to as recent as 2006, and he had no connection to the carjacking victims? He just saw a chance and decided to seize a vehicle. Our investigation leads us to believe he did not know any of the victims of the carjacking. He was attempting to escape the vicinity and was looking for any available car to get out of the area. So I would assume he was unacquainted with the people in the vehicles he passed. Does he have a police record? Has your department had previous encounters with him? Or perhaps the West Palm Beach Police? He has a prior for armed carjacking. In fact, he was on probation for a violation of that charge. Since it's a gated community, was he invited in? Did the people in the clubhouse allow him entry? Entry is by invitation only. He was visiting his girlfriend. He has a friend who lives there as well. So he was on the property to see his girlfriend. How quickly did your units arrive on scene? In less than 1 minute. The ShotSpotter system was instrumental in that, correct? Yes, we employ some of the most advanced technology in the nation. We have ShotSpotter, and when a weapon is discharged, an alert is sent to our phones and system consoles. That's why we were able to respond instantly. Are you able to release the identity of the person who died? And has their next of kin been informed? I do not have that information at this moment. So, with the shot alert reaching you in under a minute, this whole incident unfolded incredibly quickly. Yes, extremely fast. Upon arrival, we had to assess the situation, as there were multiple crime scenes. We had about 5 or 6 different locations. We had to determine the scope of what happened. As reports came in, the victim count rose from 1 to 2, then 3, and then 4. Ultimately, we had 5 victims total, because 2 of them, who were shot on Martin Luther King Boulevard, drove themselves to medical care. Ultimately, we had 5 victims total, because 2 of them, who were shot on Martin Luther King Boulevard, drove themselves to medical care. We were unaware of a 4th and 5th victim until they appeared at the hospital, stating they were shot near Azure Estates in Riviera Beach. And is it possible for us to see the suspect and the weapon that was used? Yes, absolutely. These are photos of the firearm recovered. This is the weapon, and this is the individual we arrested, Mr. Traante Gibson. And here is the firearm. I believe it is a Glock 40 with a drum magazine, which is an extended clip holding 30 to 40 rounds. So he was carrying this just moments before he ended a life and shot those other individuals. Do we have any idea how many shots were actually fired? I don't know that at this point. And I realize I've asked about this before. That's quite all right. It appears he was experiencing a mental health crisis, mentioning something about demons. Have you spoken with him? Is there any development in that aspect of the case? We are not medical professionals, of course. We can only say that claiming to hear demons is not normal behavior. He did state, however, that he was trying to eliminate the demons. That is an angle we must continue to investigate, and that must be done before we can bring this investigation and this case to a close. We intend to look into that more deeply. He did, however, state he needed to expel his demons. Have any survivors from the clubhouse mentioned harassment or what exchange might have triggered him? I'm not aware of that. He just communicated that he believed he was being targeted. I could defer to my team, But my understanding is he felt threatened and needed to defend himself. Consequently, he asked his cousin to bring him the backpack which held the firearm. He felt the need to protect himself, and, citing his demons, he took a relative with him. He is an alleged relative, as we haven't verified if the man is actually his cousin. So it was similar to a domestic situation. They are, however, related in some way. I'm sorry, is there something else? I just needed that clarified. So the cousin, or supposed cousin, is the deceased? Yes, that is correct, sir. Major Thomas. So you confirmed the alleged cousin is the one who died? That's correct, sir. You also noted the ages spanned from 1960 to 2006. That's correct, sir. You also noted the ages spanned from 1960 to 2006. The major is here. He launched his investigation at 6 o'clock, and using our internal tech, we identified the suspect within an hour of getting his photo. This was due to our facial recognition system. Our other internal systems enabled us to identify him in under an hour after we uploaded his picture. Our flock and LPR systems allowed us to determine his direction of travel. Leveraging that technology allowed us to successfully track him down. We provided a solid heading and contacted our partners at FHP, who then spotted the vehicle. It was moving through Palm Beach Gardens on 95, and they tracked it all through St. Lucie County. Would you mind providing your name? Please spell it for us. Certainly. Major Stephen Thomas. STEVENT-HOMAS. On behalf of the city and its manager, who just arrived. We appreciate you all, and this community is grieving. We are in a healing process and will do all we can to ensure our city feels safe and reach out to show this was an isolated incident. But whether it's an isolated incident or not, people are in pain. We will work to help them heal by assuring them we are here to provide a safe environment as you pass through Riviera Beach. These individuals, however, were not residents. They lived outside of Riviera Beach. We want to be very clear about that point. But residency doesn't matter. We must protect every person who enters our city. The issue of his fitness to stand trial and comprehend the charges was raised. His ability to aid in his own defense was questioned before the arrest was fully processed. Not even 48 hours after the incident, Gibson had his first appearance in Palm Beach County Court. The courtroom's decorum quickly dissolved. He made constant interruptions and told his public defender to be quiet. He demanded to represent himself, and his subsequent statements left the courtroom in stunned silence. He began describing his hallucinations in real time, claiming to fight an invisible enemy. First-degree murder, a capital offense. I can see that noted here on this page, but it doesn't appear on the other. I am not seeing it on the booking information. We will treat it as a capital charge. It is mentioned in the narrative, so regardless, all of these counts are capital crimes, or carry a life sentence. The state requests the court hold the defendant without bond. I have drafted 2 no-contact orders. For this one case, because of the many victims, there will be no contact with any witnesses, no communication with the families of the deceased or with any of the victims themselves. Those who thankfully survived are all named in these no-contact orders. And, of course, no firearms. It's a capital case. Our office will handle this, Mr. Gibson. For now, the public defender's office. You have no public defender present, but an order for one will be submitted. I may have to stop you if you begin saying things that are not in your best interest. I'm just giving you a warning. Okay. Could you please step back from the microphone a little? Right, sir. It was causing feedback. That is better. How are you, sir? My problem is that I see things, sir. Even here in this courtroom, the police I see, none of them come to open the door for me, except for one officer in the room last night, who was a good man. Sir, I am constantly fighting things that none of you can see. So tell me, how can you imprison someone for fighting something you cannot perceive? When I was driving on the highway, there were 3 cars. Double that is 6, right? It was 3 cars. When I hit a certain speed, right at the limit, I see 3 cars. Then every time I step on the gas, there are no cars on the road. It's only me. Then 3 cars just materialize. 1, 2, 3. Then it happens again. Right. And the people who were supposed to have been killed, they're not dead. Nobody died, obviously. Right. One person did. There is one victim. Nobody is dead, sir. I shot every single one. Man, be quiet. Let me speak. Just let me speak. I can't speak to the judge, man. They're recording. Fine. Let me talk. If they're recording, so be it. I put a bullet in each of their heads. They're not getting up. My cousin, he was supposed to die from that. And yes, he died. But sir, many people were shot in the head and stood back up right in front of me. So, how can you possibly wake up in front of me after I've shot you? How do you come back to life? Please tell me, sir. It is impossible. You can't get back up after someone shoots you in the head, and if you review the camera, you'll see those people are with me. I was just sitting by myself, sir. Right. I'm on a bench with my cousin Elmo, you see? Okay. So why do you keep talking when I'm trying to talk to him? Sir, I cannot even hear you. I can't hear you. Will be used against you at trial. No, it won't be used against me, because I am speaking from my heart to whoever is listening. You can tell that to your lawyer. Okay, just let me speak. You know what, sir? I don't need you. To be honest with you, I do not need your help. I am trying to protect you. Please. Judge, can you please tell him to be quiet? I am not able to talk. He is not. Thank you, sir. I am attempting to give you advice. What? Sir, I'm battling something that I can't even see. I see it during the night. I can see it right now as I look at you. I have no idea how to fight it, sir. Mr. Gibson, I need to inform you that the lawyer you will get Okay, no cameras, sir. I'm sorry. The attorney who gets your case can file motions to determine if you are 1. Competent for trial, or 2. Were competent at that time. That is when you should be having this discussion. You should not be discussing it now. Sir, when I was at Stony Brook with that firearm, it was not my gun. To start with, that is a fact. Sir, it doesn't matter to me because I am speaking from my heart. I do not care what you are saying. I don't care. I am talking to that gentleman right there. The judge. He is who I'm addressing. I am not worried about what anyone else is saying. I'm speaking to him. I must get this off my chest. Mr. Gibson, that will be all for now. You will be held without bond. He said he saw it at night, and that he could see it in that courtroom looking at those in front of him. Initially, he asserted that no one had died at all. Then, in the very next breath, he reversed himself, confessing he had shot people in the head and that his cousin had died. He also claimed that the people he had shot had simply gotten back up right in front of his face. The judge indicated competency evaluations would be necessary. Gibson now faces first-degree murder in the death of John Richard Hallebertton III. He is charged with 4 counts of attempted first-degree murder, armed carjacking with a firearm, plus additional charges from that night's events in Riviera Beach. He is being held without bond. A long legal process lies ahead. The issue of mental competency will define every single step of it. It's still up in the air whether Gibson will ever face a conventional trial, or if a jury will hear the full, devastating story of what took place. What is certain, however, is the aftermath, the number of lives lost, and the kind of grief that never gets a day in court. John Richard Hallebertton III was only 25 years old. He was a certified welder with a stable job and a daughter just 4 weeks old. He went to those apartments simply because his cousin called asking for a hand. That's the type of man he was, someone you could count on. And that is the most heartbreaking part of this entire tragedy. Not the sheer brutality of the attack, nor the chaos that unfolded on the street. The cruelest part is that John's own instinct to help, his inherent goodness, is precisely what put him in the path of danger. Mental illness, left unseen and untreated, rarely stays contained. It eventually finds an outlet. And when it does, when a young man with a weapon and a mind full of voices finally snaps inside a crowded building, the people who bear the cost are almost never those responsible for his pain. They are the innocent. Pastors driving home from church, commuters waiting for a traffic light, the cousin who simply wanted to know if everyone was all right. The community of Riviera Beach carries this weight. The families carry this weight. And a little girl is growing up without a father. She'll have no memory of his face or his voice, just a narrative she must one day build from the stories of those who loved him. This is the true price of what unfolded on that Monday night. It's not a number or a news brief, but a life. Multiple lives, irrevocably altered in moments by something that might have been prevented, if only someone had recognized the warning signs. If this story resonates with you, if you think John's life was worth more than a forgotten headline, please do one thing for us. Subscribe to True Crime Tragedies. Please write his name in the comments. Share this story with someone you think needs to hear it. These are real individuals, and the least we can do is ensure they are never forgotten. We will see you next time.